Next is the blob shadow projection. We're going to have a shadow projector over top of LERPs, which is going to cast shadows, not just that sharp one, but other shadows below him. And it needs to ignore him. It's going to be above him, so it needs to ignore him. So that's one of the key points of this. We're going to go find our blob shadow projector and move it into our level, into our scene. And positioning it is kind of tricky. There it is. It's got kind of a weird angle. So let me just get it over top of him first of all. Maybe higher up. And I'm going to rotate it with E. Move it back with W. I'm going to rotate it again, E. Oops. There, that looks good. You probably are better to do this in the 4. There it is. It's probably better to do this in the 4 split view, but this worked out okay for me this time. And you can see there's a problem because it's casting on him as well as below him. So what we do is we go to the player and we give him a layer. We're going to add a new layer. Here's the array of layers that already exist. So those are already taken. Let's go to layer 8 and call it no shadow. So there's this new layer called no shadow. Enter. Go back to the player and make sure that he's on the no shadow layer. And change all children, like all the parts of them, all the things that are, when we open them up, all the children, including the jetpack and so on, yes. So now we go back to the blob shadow projector and we get it to ignore the layer. Notice that it ignores layers. It doesn't ignore tags or names, it ignores layers. So we want it to ignore the layer no shadow. And now you can see immediately it goes away, but it's still cast below on the floor, on the platform there. And so we're good, except that we need the blob shadow to follow LERPs as well. Again, if we just play it now, the blob shadow just stays there. We want it to be part of, or a child of, using that terminology we just saw, the player. So we move it onto the player, and I think it's fine just being right there with the jets in the first level down of the player. We'll play it and see that it is following him all right. I jump. Yeah, it looks okay. The other thing in the tutorial that they mentioned is it's good, though, that also being ignored by the shadow are the things that he picks up, which are these health, life pickups in the fuel cells. So I'm going to look at fuel cell, which one? The prefab. So that is also going to be on the no shadow layer. So this thing will be ignored. Change the children as well. And the other thing to ignore is the other thing that he picks up, which is health life pickup. Must be prefab, must be that one. So also, when we find those, he's not going to cast a shadow on them, which will just make them stand out a lot more. So that's it for the blob projector.